Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back again with Abzan. I'm just sticking with this list. I really want to see how it performs. The only thing I've been considering is playing Thoughtseize in the board over Deafening Silence as just a more proactive plan. And I like Thoughtseize against some of the mid-range decks as well. A lot of the Stoneblade decks, I don't mind Thoughtseize. Obviously it opens you up to Veil, and does give you a little less against the decks that you want to slow down, especially the Dark Ritual decks and decks like 8cast. So I am going to stick with Silence for now, but I wouldn't mind trying Thoughtseize at some point. I might give this version another few leagues and go from there. I really like the mix of the removal in this deck. Prismatic Ending has been really solid, especially as a turn 1 hate piece. I've been trying to think of some of the advantages of just running Abrupt Decay over Prismatic Ending. Obviously against Delver, it's nice that Abrupt Decay can't be countered. Abrupt Decay does, however, make you search for your Bayous or Scrubland pretty early on, which opens you up to Wasteland. Prismatic Ending, be able to trade 1-for-1 with a 1 CMC permanent is really strong. And then of course going up from there is quite nice, and scaling up to even 4 or 5 with the use of a Mana Dork. So there's definitely a few things. Prismatic Ending also being uncastable with a Gaddock Teeg in play is relevant, even though this version isn't playing Teeg, which I think I want to do a piece on. I did a piece, I believe, last year or the year before on sort of Gaddock Teeg in the metagame and how it fits and what its role is. And personally, I think, sadly, the role just isn't there anymore. I don't think Teeg is that relevant to Legacy, especially when the combo decks are things like Doomsday. The blue-white decks aren't really playing too many board wipes in Terminus or Supreme Verdict. And a lot of decks have just got a lot more removal going for them. Although Teeg does stop Prismatic Ending, ending on your other permanents means there's more swords to parshes around for your Teegs, which is pretty tough. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. New Boseiju. I haven't checked if any of the new cards are relevant. Not relevant, legal or on MTGO. I assume they're quite hard to find, so I don't have any here. But I would like to check them out and see how the Green Boseiju performs. Probably in a version of a deck with Loam. Maybe something like Black-Green Depths. That'd be pretty sweet. It's interesting in Maverick because your tutors for lands in Night puts them into play. So Boseiju there is obviously not that great. Ramanap gets it back from the graveyard but puts it into play, which isn't great. Like there's a world where you could play a Yavimaya, and so you could return it to your hand with Scrib Ranger, but I don't think that's where I want to be at the moment. But I do think that the Green Boseiju is of course very powerful, and yeah, I think does have a pretty good place in Legacy. So we'll see how it performs. But yeah, might run into some new cards tonight if they are online, which is pretty sweet. All right, gameplay, nice. All right, we have a match. We are on the draw. Up against Lost at Sea. Tough hand. Especially because there's no white source. It does have a plan of turn 1 Mum, turn 2 Thalia. So I don't technically have to draw white source until turn 3, which is 4 draws. This is an interesting to start the league off with. My opponent mulliganed to 6. I don't mind trying to keep this hand because it has turn 1 Plains into Mum, which is great against the fair decks. And then we have a second land into Thalia, which is great against the unfair decks. And I think we have a pretty high chance of drawing like a land, or at least a fetch land in the top 3. Definitely a interesting hand that I could see mulliganing, because I'm not a big fan of keeping hands that don't have the mana to cast everything in your hand, but it looks like we're just going to play against Reanimator, so this might not even... Oh, okay. This could be Jund Hogak. Hey, Vegeta, very cool to see you. Okay, always lucky. I think here we're definitely starting off on the Noble and trying to get Knight into play, because if it is Hogak, I want to get access to Caracas pretty quickly. And I'm probably okay with getting a Savannah here. I don't believe a deck playing Putrid Gym and Badlands would be playing Wasteland, per se. Basic Mountain. Andrew's Ravager, okay. Blazing Root Waller, sure. This is the one that I'm not too unhappy to see, just because... Oh, and a hollow one. Okay, so pretty nice start from my opponent. If we draw a land here, I could be incentivized to play the Knight. But I think here I just want to double spell. I think getting the Mum online is pretty relevant here. The Thalia can keep the Blazing Root Waller at bay. So we're most likely taking 8 next turn, at least. So I think we just double spell. I don't want to show the Scrub land because Plague Engineer is a pretty good card in this matchup on Lizard. So I kind of just want to act like we're on a green-white deck. So I think it's just going to be Thalia and Mum. I don't believe I want to double block here. I'm pretty happy to let this through. And then a fetch land would be really nice, because then we can have a 4/4 Knight that lines up well to block this this Ravager. They're going to cast Burning Inquiry, which is pretty tough. It does put a land in the bin, however, which is pretty great for us. They also found an Anger in the bin, and they have a Vengevine in the bin as well, so that's pretty relevant. All right, Caracas is nice. It means we can play 2 spells this turn. I don't believe I need to hold up Caracas against this deck, unless there's a world where they get Hogak into play. But I don't believe Jund Madness has really been on Hogak as much as the other like Jund Hogak decks. So we're definitely playing Caracas. And then just going to play Knight. And I think second Mum here is probably just the best card. Because the protection is very relevant. I think more so than the mana. But there is a world here where they can just go wide. Discard another Anger, sure. Discard an Ox, okay. So they can escape this, wow. Another hollow one. And Ox as well. It's pretty good. We might even have to make some pretty unfavorable blocks here. Interesting, they're going to go to attacks. I assume they attack with everything. If they Ox, they lose haste. 8 other cards. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, you're correct. Nice, pick up red. Oh, sorry, powerful. Hey, Red, thank you very much for the sub. Very kind. Okay. I think I have to keep the knight around, so I think it's going to be like this. It is tough though, because there's a world where if we take this damage, we're just going to be dead to go wide anyway. That I might have to trade the knight with a hollow one here. And then put the Thalia and a mum in front of the Angie's just to kill it. It's tough because if we kill anything, they can then just Ox post-combat. It's just tough because without the knight, we don't have too much of a plan. But, like, keeping the knight around and making it, say, a 5/5 is great, but it doesn't really matter if they're just going to go wide the next turn. Just because the following turn I can trade with a hollow one doesn't really matter if the other creatures are just killing me. So I think we have to do something like this. And then I think I want to save the mum more than the Thalia. Thalia being legendary as well means if we draw into one, we can also recast it, which is nice. Do we even want to live in a world where Teeg isn't good enough for Maverick anymore? I mean, it's tough. It's really tough. I don't think so. I think Teeg was like the card that we really wanted to. I feel like Teeg kept a lot of decks in check for Maverick. And Collector Oof kind of does that, but not in the same way as like old school Teeg used to. I like the parts, I like the endurances, and I like the plagues. Oof can come out. I don't think it's that relevant as LED. Thalias can come out. I'm gonna have a quick look. Jund, Madness, Goldfish. That's an old school one. Legacy. Madness. Okay. No Hogak. No Hogak. No Hogak. No Hogak. Okay. I feel like we can drop Caracas here. Libraries are way too slow as well. Oof is nice versus LED, but I think that we can hate them in a way that otherwise it's not that great. I think LED is just really fast for them. And most of the time, if I have like a Green Suns, I'm going to Green Suns for Scoos 99% of the time instead of going for Oof. And like with the Endurances in play as well, I don't mind too much about what they have. I think this is pretty good. Knight of Autumn's still great at killing hollow ones, which is nice. I don't think like I need Force of Vigors for that. I'm pretty happy with this. This is probably actually another matchup where I wouldn't mind having Aethersworn Canonist over Deafening Silence. This matchup and Elves are probably the two biggest. I think this hand is just a little bit too meh. I'd love a 6 with like a mana accelerant and an endurance. This hand just doesn't have the mana, unfortunately. Okay, this hand is actually pretty good. We keep this and bottom. This is actually a tough one. I want to go Green Suns for Dried Arbor off a... Probably off a Bayou. Yeah, a Bayou. So we have the Plague Engineer on Lizard the following turn. And then I do like having the Endurance. So I think because we're going for a Bayou here, I think I'm going to drop the Swords and the Cradle. Swords is nice here, but Plague hitting Lizard and turning off 8 of their creatures is pretty huge. I just don't want to see Burning Inquiry. Dread of Night. Interesting. I did not expect that. So now we have an interesting one. We can either bottom Endurance. We can also play Endurance or play Plague Engineer. I kind of like just playing out the Plague Engineer. I don't want to lose it to a... to a Burning Inquiry. And at least, like, worst case here, we can pitch an Endurance to an Endurance if they try to do some sort of really fast start with, like, Stinkweed Imp and Vengevines into the bin. Yeah, Manda seems like a sweet deck to play. Especially those first couple of turns. You can win very close. Gamble. Interesting. I wonder if they have some sort of I think it's a red spell where you can discard cards to deal damage. If I draw a land here, it's pretty good. Grist is actually pretty nice as well. I'm just going to play Grist here. Tick up. And get in. I thought you were working on removing all of those cards from all economies. I know, I do have a little collection of Dread Knights. If we have a little look-see. Might have gone overboard, but I like it. I used to play a lot of Death and Taxes. This was my first Legacy deck, and people locally love Dread of Night. So I bought out locally Dread of Night, and then I found it in other places. So I decided to take it away from others as well. Hollow One's fine. Pretty happy here just to put this in front. A forest is actually quite nice here. I can get rid of the Hollow One with the Dried Arbor. And then I don't even lose the Grist to the Putrid Imp, which is quite nice. Yeah, that kind of happened here as well. Dreader Knights were kind of everywhere, which kind of sucked. Not a great card to play against. We have some options. We have some options. One, two, three, four, five. I think I'm happy just to make it a creature again. But there is a world where I want to just trade the Dried Arbor with the Hollow One. Floating a mana. I could also take out the Badlands first. Trade Dried Arbor with Hollow One. I probably want to keep 3 mana around though for the second Endurance. And I do want to restrict them on mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're pretty close to Ox. They only have one card in hand, so I don't mind trading Endurance here with the Vengevine and turning off the Ox. Really want to keep them off that, keep them off the Grist. Happy to attack here with the Plague, I believe. Lost Ark. No, I haven't. What's it about? Sounds pretty cool. I know some friends are playing New World, which is an Amazon game, which they've enjoyed, especially since some new updates. Will they attack with the Imp? They don't. Pretty happy to just use my mana here and get Endurance into play. Get rid of this Vengevine. Alright. It's pretty nice. I don't mind just going after Imp here. Probably see what they discard first. Or if they discard. I'm gonna fetch. Discard Angie's. Okay. I am just going to name Imp. I don't think they run another zombie type. Let's have a quick look. Wraith, Vengevine. Yeah, I don't believe it matters. But I probably do want to trade the Dried Upper here, potentially with the Anji's Ravager. The draw 3 is just so good. That means I can attack with the Endurance this turn as well. I think Lion Sash will see 100% play in D&T. And most likely in like Stoneblade 75. I think just because it has such good flexibility. I'm pretty happy to block with the Imp one here. I feel like that card has kind of done its job. Yeah, I really liked XJ and Jason's talk this morning about D&T. Alright. They hit a Root Waller, but of course Plague Engineer here is just really nice at keeping that at bay. Nice. Do I want to change anything? I don't think I do. Pretty happy just to run this back. That was a 5 as well, so you could see there where mulliganing to like high reward cards like Plague Engineer can just really keep your opponent at bay. Tough. I believe it is a new trophy season, Punishing Waterfalls. Nice hand, but like, yeah, the mana just doesn't work out, unfortunately. Not like this, please. Alright. I guess we're bottoming the Scrib Ranger and a Mum. I kind of like the other stuff. Probably getting Ravager here, just because of how it works with LED. Yeah. Wow, with Anger in the bin? That's pretty good. Do I still play Canadian EDH? I've never played. Australia has its own Highlander called 7 Point Highlander, which is a 60 card deck. Wow, Hollow one too? I don't think we can even beat this. Yeah. Like, we can try... Savannah Dryad Arbor? I think turning on, like, Knight off the top is best. But yeah, sadly just a really strong start. Take it. Hope to draw Plague Engineer. And then name Lizard, which kind of hits 3. But this is tough. I think that is too fast. Hey 420, thanks for the follow. Hope you're doing well. Yep. Yeah, so the reason I went after this one is because it becomes a +2/+2. This one doesn't get the plus toughness, so I can trade it with an X1 creature. But yeah, like this is just one of those games that you can't do too much against, and you just gotta take the loss on the chin. But yeah, like those are the starts that you need off the John Madness decks to get there. Because I think, yeah, once I start landing Knights or bigger creatures like Scavenging Ooze or even Endurance, it can be pretty tough for them to come back. Tough. Yeah, I think like in that case, it's definitely a feel bad moment. But I think a really good kind of mindset to get into is think of the player who's playing Madness there. Like they would love that experience. Like they would love to just like have like that opening and be like, holy hell, like I'm winning this on turn 2. Like very cool to see. So I think it's nice to focus on being happy for my opponent than being sad that I lost like that. Because I know if I was in that position as the Madness player, I'd be having a pretty good time. Yeah. I have kind of a weird mindset with MTGO as well. I don't like to think of my opponents as people. I like to think of them as bots, which makes it a little bit easier to just like take the losses and take some of, you know, the top decks, which, you know, we get as well. We get some sweet top decks on stream. But yeah, I think taking the human element out of it is a pretty nice way to go about things. Definitely takes a lot of like ease out of it. This is an interesting hand. I think it's just a little bit too top heavy, so I'm gonna mulligan this. I really want a hand with like a turn 1 accelerant. This is pretty good. I'll keep this. Hey Star Fox, very cool to see you. I liked your question in the Everyday Eternal chat. I'm gonna keep. This is an interesting one. I think Mum is just the card here that I don't really need. Turn 1 Dryad Arbor, turn 2 Hold Up Endurance or play Grist, and then we also have removal in Prismatic. I think Mum's just the goer here. Yeah, hitting the library is tough. Ah, very cool. Very cool, Star Fox. Nice. Sold a nice Swords to Plowshares to Luke this week, so I'm sure you'll see him jamming it in Highlander or Legacy or whatever he's building. I feel like Luke buys a lot of Eternal cards, so I assume he has a pretty nice collection. On the draw. Oink Mage? We call a Delver never flips the Lucky Lookie experience. Very cool. Hey Mengu, a huge thank you for the raid. Too kind. What were you just playing? Hey everyone from Mengu's stream. I'm Dukes on Twitch. I'm an Australian Legacy streamer, usually playing fair decks like Maverick or Depths, and currently in match 2, game 1, against an opponent who's having a pretty good think about their opening hand. Pauper Blue Red Scred. Nice. What are you playing in Paper Legacy at the moment? I know that Italy has a pretty good setup. Hey Milton. Depths is fair. Let's be honest here. Green White Depths is a pretty fair deck. So against Blue Red Delver, I definitely want to get these fetches into play to turn the Knights into 4/4s as early as possible. I probably am also happy just going for basics early on. So I don't mind just like Forest into Dryad Arbor, and then we have the Plains for Prismatic Ending next turn to play around Days as well. Mono Blue Thoughtcast? Nice. Very cool. Having the natural endurance as well is quite nice here. So building my mana and just trying to get that down is what I want to achieve. And, you know, we run 4 Swords to Plowshares, 3 Prismatic Endings, so I do want to make sure all of those count. Like, a Days here wouldn't be that bad. We have 3 mana to cast all our spells, so at least it's 1 less counterspell going towards our removal. And even with the turn 1 Dryad, there's a world where I just keep respecting Days and play on curve, so 2-drop 2, turn 2. Wasteland's okay. So we know about Force of Will. Hey King Show. Thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. They chose to shuffle, which makes me think they're looking for mana. And that's a pretty nice draw. So here, happy just to take the pressure off and go for this ending of a Plains. They're going to be pretty aggressive with their force. Interesting. Hey Council. No Dynasty cards. The Green Passager does seem interesting, but I don't think Maverick can utilize it like a Loam deck can. But I think it's probably correct to play 1 in the 60 and see how it goes. But yeah, couldn't really find any either. Hey, Bob Mans. Protect the Queen? Yeah, definitely. They only have one card left, which is quite nice. I kind of want to draw a 2-drop here, but... I think I'd rather throw the Knight into Daze than Endurance, and I do want to play a 3-drop here, so... It's pretty interesting. The Canopy puts me down to 11, which is still a 2-turn clock with the 2 Delvers in play. Yeah, Onion Lotus, that's a great point. This deck can find lands, like Boseiju, but it puts it into play, which is a little bit rough. If they have a Wasteland, it's not the worst either, because we have the Knight if it resolves. And that just sticks. Okay. They find a Bolt, which is pretty relevant. It does mean we have to... Oh, they have a Murktide as well? Rough. Okay. Oh, so close. I think the Bolt just does it, unfortunately. Because we can play Endurance, which blocks a creature. And then we can trade the Knight with Murktide through Grist off Cradle. But then we die to the Bolt. No Blast Zone, no. Just because Black can run Plague Engineer, I have a less of an appeal to run Blast Zone, but it is pretty good. No Mazavith either. No. The mana is pretty fluid. So they have Bolt. Yeah, Endurance would have been really solid. And maybe it was the right play just to like go for Endurance, but knowing that 3 of the 2 cards in their hands were a Bolt and Murktide is pretty tough. One thing to note is that Grist isn't affected by Thalia's tax. Yeah, I don't think we can do anything because I don't think even draw a card here. Yeah, because even draw a card into Swords to Plowshares is 2 mana, 3 mana, 1 mana left over. We wouldn't have enough mana to play Endurance as well. Yeah, really nice. So Grist on the stack is a creature spell, which is quite nice, so it doesn't get taxed, which is cool. I can't gain life either. Like, there's a world where I could potentially try to get Thalia into play and Wasteland them off a land, but then we don't have any blockers for the flyers. I mean, I can just try to get some... I can try. But I have to tap the other way around. At least we can make our opponent go through the motions, which is nice. Tough. Alright, on the play, I like 2 parts, 2 chokes, 2 endurance. I like taking out 2 library, oof, Knight of Autumn, Questing Beast, and a Knight. I like shedding Knight for endurance in this matchup. Everything else is pretty nice. Script Range is obviously great at blocking the flyers, Scavenging Ooze for a little bit of life gain, and trying to keep them off Delirium. Mana Dorks for getting around Daze early on. Mums are still fine to make sure that they have removal. Yeah, I don't mind this hand. Turn 1 Mum, turn 2 script potentially, and then having Path as well is quite nice. What does Endurance do? Endurance is a 3/4 flash creature that has reach, and when it enters play, you can choose target player and put their graveyard on the bottom of their library. So in this case, it's good because it makes Murktide very hard to cast, and it also takes Delirium away from cards like Dragonridge Channeler. It also allows us to put removal back in the deck after shuffling, putting lands back that might be targets for tutors, and then also puts creatures back, which is quite nice. This is an interesting one. I can just Wasteland here. I don't mind Wasteland, especially when they haven't turn 1 pondered or played a creature. I could also hold up Scrib Ranger here, but I think I'm happier just to Wasteland Pass and hold up Path. Gonna act like I have a swords. Speak of. I don't want to lead on this. I want to lead on the Wasteland. It does show weakness, but this is my only white source at the moment. And they're actually just going to pass, which is pretty funny. And they find nothing. Nice. I'm going to get Birds of Paradise here because A, it makes black mana for Grist, and B, it's also just a flyer, which down the line might make sense. But yeah, like that's a game where Wasteland just takes over, which is pretty funny. Like sometimes your opponent keeps one lander, and in that spot we played a Mother of Runes where they might have wanted to ponder. So taking them off the Volk was pretty nice. And kind of nice to cheese out those wins because it does just happen in Legacy sometimes. Hey Cot, and see your face. Thanks for the follows. I'm just running this back. I sometimes like taking out a choke on the draw, just because of how good they can be at getting like fast threats down. That there was a game in our last league that was pretty quintessential of it, where they had a Dragonridge Channeler, and then we played a choke, and then they just played Delver Delver, tapped their islands, but then didn't really need them because they had the threats already in play. And sometimes it can just be the Night of Autumn that I don't mind. Gaining the full life can be relevant, and also just having the body. But the other thought is that having the second choke is just nice because then you get to see it more often as a 1 mana spell. Plague for Human isn't too bad, but a lot of the time, especially with the setup that Delver has, it's quite hard to catch them as 1/1s, but you definitely can get there. The other nice thing about this deck against a deck like Delver with Wastelands is you can play pretty much like a green-white deck, just fetching out basics. So sometimes fetching out for a Bayou early for a Plague Engineer can kind of put you in harm's way of being Wastelanded out of being actually able to cast anything. I don't mind the second choke. One choke in the deck, you're not really going to see it, especially without Sylvan Library. You just don't want to have 2 in the opener. That's the big one. And this hand is pretty nice. It has 2 great ways to interact. It has Wasteland to attack their mana. I probably don't want to go for a basic, just because of the endurance. I want to get my green going, but I really like this hand. Prismatic Ending for their early threats, and then Path to Exile for Murktide. This hand probably just wants to see like a Volcanic into Ponder more than a turn 1 play. Delver. That's pretty interesting. So I could go for like Savannah into Dried Arbor, which means the following turn we can play Prismatic Ending around Daze and also Wasteland my opponent. I think because we have the removal here, I'm pretty happy just to Wasteland my opponent, which doesn't seem great with a Delver in play, but I think we have like some pretty good ways of dealing with them. And if my opponent did again keep a one-lander, which is pretty high, I've seen a lot of Delver players keep one-landers. I also don't mind the start of Savannah. Savannah into Dried Arbor just turns on so much more potential for turn 2. Because if we Forest into Forest, it means we can't do something like Prismatic Ending and Wasteland next turn. If we get Savannah into Dried Arbor and say Dried Arbor dies to Bolt and they don't have a Wasteland, we can at least then play Wasteland, play around Daze by playing Prismatic Ending and then potentially Wastelanding our opponent as well. So I think I will actually go for Savannah here. Into Dried Arbor. Yeah, like worst case is something like untap Bolt, Dried Arbor, Wasteland, Savannah, but we also have the mana to cast our spells that we really care about, so like Daze here isn't too bad. Unholy Heat's definitely nice to know about as well. Another Delver, okay. That's pretty nice. So let's start with... I don't want to give them the option of being able to Daze back the Volk if it's their only one, so I'm actually just going to play around Daze by Wastelanding the Volk first. And then ending on the flip Delver. No flip is pretty strong for us. And Wasteland here is fine. A little bit annoying because it is a green source as well, but not too bad. I kind of want to see what they flip off the top, because they can't brainstorm into it, which is nice. So even if they flip like Force of Will here, I don't have to worry about that. No flip. This is an interesting spot, because if they have like Threat and Ponder, if I Swords the Delver now, they most likely just play another Threat, but if I don't, they might Ponder. But not Swordsing here also opens me up to Daze. I think I'm pretty happy just to clear the board right now. There is a world where I want to keep the Karakas for like a DRC. But we do have Path and Endurance for those as well, so I think clearing is fine. Wow, no land? Oof. Thalia here is huge. We know they have Unholy Heat, so if they draw into a duel, we do have the Wasteland for it, which is nice. We also have Karakas open now, which is really good. In a really nice spot. Deafening Silence has been pretty good at keeping the decks that I want to keep from being able to cast spells, or multiple spells a turn in check. But I have been wanting to toy around with Thoughtseize as a more proactive spell in that slot. Mum here is really nice as well, because we know about Unholy Heat. Thalia is taxing them, so they can't actually cast a spell if they find a land. Fetch is actually probably the best land they can find, because it allows them to play around Wasteland, but it looks like they're just going to go for a basic. Interesting. I don't want a Path here in case they have another basic, so I am going to untap and then just Prismatic Ending this Delver. I do want to pay for Thalia's tax. And I think here, because they have the land, I don't want to lose the Mum to Unholy Heat, so I'm happy not to attack with her. And at least if they do find land into Murktide, we have the path which can't be forced because the Thalia attacks. I think this is actually going to be lights out, thankfully. I think Knight's just a little bit too good. Yeah, which is really nice. I mean, that was a really interesting game because, you know, we went for the Savannah line, which, to be fair, I usually play pretty considerately, but really nice to take that. Obviously, they had mana issues, but yeah, being a bit aggressive with our own wastelands is quite nice. Nice to get back on the board. Red Delver. 2-1. Hey, Northern Angel. Sorry, didn't see you. Very well. Yeah, that was a tough one. Yeah, missing lands is always tough. But how many basics do you run? I mean, we had a Part to Exile, and I didn't want to use it in the end step there in case you had another. What was the first loss? It was Jund Madness. Lotus Petal Magus? Nice. That's I've never heard of that reference for Ragavan, but pretty cool. Interesting to see that Ragavan's still pretty expensive online, but I assume it's because of Modern. I haven't seen Ragavan in Vintage, but would be pretty cool. I mean, stealing a Lotus is pretty sweet. And getting 4 mana. I mean, you could turn 1 Ragavan and then turn 2 hardcast Bolas's Citadel, right? You'd have access to Lotus Petal, your own Lotus Petal, or Black Lotus, Lotus Petal land. Definitely interesting. Yeah, like Ren and 6 still expensive? Yeah, that's true. I wonder if Modern Horizons 3 will include reprints from Modern Horizons 1 and 2. I feel like now's the right time for that because there's a lot of expensive cards. Things like Solitude, Ren and 6, Ragavan. But I wonder if they want to reprint Ragavan. Boseiju, yeah. Boseiju with Ren seems really strong. And I think that's probably the deck that I would like to play if I went towards Modern. This is going to be a mulligan. It does have interaction in turn 1 ending and Wasteland. And a Knight, but my opponent has gone down to 6 cards. We up against HRVR. We are on the draw. Horizon Masters, enough. Landamox, Dash Rags, Lotus Citadel. Okay, there we go. Nice. This is a mulligan for me. I think that Maverick just has such a good like low curve that I can find a nice 6 that has multiple spells. And this is pretty nice. I'm going to bottom a land here. Oof could be irrelevant though. This is always an interesting one. And we do have Green Suns for Oof if needed. So I think it might just be the Oof that I drop because, you know, if we're up against like Elves, then I definitely don't want the Oof. Interesting. Okay. I don't mind playing the Mum here off Canopy. I do also have the Bayou into Dryad Arbor, which isn't too bad. I'm gonna put them on Delver, and I don't mind trying to bait a removal spell on Dryad Arbor, and then cast Mum next turn. I'd like Old Border Endurance. Yeah, that'd be cool. There are some pretty cool cards that would look nice in Old Border as well. I'm a big fan of like Lorwyn Thoughtseize, but New Thoughtseize is pretty sweet as well. Savannah. Alright. Yeah, Lorwyn Thoughtseize. Oh, I'll board a Green Sun Zenith would be really nice. This could also be a combo deck. Scalding Tarn Pluto Delta with no turn 1 play is pretty odd for Delver. Unless they kept like a... Yeah, okay, this is looking like Doomsday. Which, if it's the Murktide version, it's not too bad. Feels ant? Yeah. Based on like the popularity of decks right now, like Underground Sea, I just automatically think of Doomsday. But you never know. They also want the top card, which is interesting. They didn't fetch straight away. Hogak with Brainstorm? Interesting. That's kind of cool because you get to like know what's on top and then put it in the bins. That's why they didn't fetch. That's very cool. I like that a lot. So now they get back Bloodghast and Gravecrawler and Prized Amalgam. Okay. I think my best draw here is just Cradle off the top, because then it means that we can play Questing Beast and hold up Swords to Plowshares. I just really hope they don't have Cabal Therapy. That's the one card I don't want to see here. Ooh, thankfully. They are fetching. Interesting. Ooze. Ooze is nice as well, but on this board it's obviously not as great. But I probably don't mind Ooze, to be fair. I can play Ooze and then hold up Ooze and Sword. I think that's better than Questing Beast. Tapping out for the Beast also is... not the worst. I could race them. I think... we're definitely playing the Bayou. They didn't have Cabal Therapy last time. They can't even block the Questing Beast with Stitches Supplier, which is quite nice. Don't cast Beasts, they run Days. To be fair, we've seen Brainstorm, so I wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised by Days, especially in a deck with Bloodghast. It's kind of cool. You get to like get extra triggers if you lose them. I'm gonna play the Ooze line, which is not gonna be chat friendly, but I think Ooze just allows us not to lose in case they have some sort of altar line. Oh, they could just be playing Force with Thoughtscour. Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. We get it. Yeah, I think Ooze is more of a conservative line. I think we hit the Bloodghast here just in case they don't have a fetch. That makes sense. I also like getting rid of the Stitches Supplier right now. Because the Questing Beast just holds off the Prized Amalgam. Black. And there's Cabal. I think we will lose the Questing BC to the Gravecrawler, unfortunately, but not too bad. Next turn we do get Canopy Draw into a 3-drop, potentially. But this Gravecrawler is pretty free, yeah. Prismatic Vista in this deck. Interesting. Okay. Nice. Pretty nice. One card left for my opponent. Hey, Ill Will and Cot, thanks for the follows. Let me know where you're both from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? Crab is pretty good. We don't play Bajuka Bog in this list. Just a little bit too slow without cards like Crop Rotation or Elvish Reclaimer. See what they hit. They hit a Cabal Therapy, which isn't relevant here, which is nice. And there's also a little bit of a reason why I want to just draw a card in end step, so I can play around any sort of discard. No attacks. Okay, that's pretty good. From Denmark playing Dead Guy Ale, very cool. I don't really care about Endurance right now, because there's no cards in the bin that I really care about. I think it's just going to be Green Suns for another Knight of the Reliquary. I could get Collector Oof if I was really scared of Altar. But I think getting another Knight is pretty nice, because it gets to a stage where I just have lethal over 2 turns. Grist is pretty interesting as well. Grist is a nice way to get rid of Bridge from Below as well. But I think Knights just close out the game faster. Yeah. It would take a fair amount for my opponent to get on top of these Knights, especially when the online Knight turns off Hogak as a line to get through protection. That it's pretty tough. The Go White strategy is definitely one to be wary of. I do like these. I don't mind taking out a library and Oof Thalias. Knight to Nice is big creatures. Knight of Autumn is okay if they're playing Altar. Mana Accelerants are still great. Questing Beast is still fine at getting things through. Scrib Range is okay. I could see Knight of Autumn going and just having the endings for Altar. Kai is definitely nice, but it's pretty expensive. This Hogak deck can just be a little bit quicker. Yeah, 3-mana version would be sweet, especially getting rid of things like obviously Graveyard and then also little creatures. Yeah, Ramanap can be pretty dead. Ramanap's kind of nice because you get to replay Dryad Arbor, which can come up if the board stalls and it gets pretty grindy. But yeah, maybe Ramanap is the cut. It's also a 2/3 body, which isn't too bad against cards like Bloodghast and Gravecrawler, just keeping them at bay. I like this hand. We have the Dried Arbor to pitch the Endurance if we really need to. We have Acceleration and Removal. Sure. I think getting on the Noble Hierarch to have turn 2 Hardcast Endurance is just better than Wasteland here. We're just going to go for Savannah because it casts things in hand. Even though we get white from Noble Hierarch, there is a world where my opponent plays like Dark Blast in the board. I also don't want a 6 because we have the Endurances. That's pretty unfortunate. At least they missed on this, but they do get to take double endurance here, which is pretty good. Yeah. I'm not going to use it either. They named Swords to Plowshares, which is pretty normal. At least if they miss a... No, they don't miss a land drop. Gravecrawler. Okay, so they hit double Gravecrawler. Pass. I am going to Wasteland them here. I think there is a world where the Wasteland's better for me, as just untapping with 3 mana. I might just wait and see, because I'd hate to draw into like another Reliquary and not be able to cast it. I'm most likely only going to path the Stitcher Supplier if they play like a Altar or a Cabal Therapy again. That's fine. Sure. Do they attack? They do attack. I am gonna path this anyway, so I might as well just do it now. It's pretty much a draw 3 for them if I let them have a... get to a stage where they can actually sacrifice it. Yeah, I think pathing before they get the zombies is better. I just completely didn't think about that being a way to turn that on. I'm going to call that a streamer issue. Okay. I don't mind just getting Ooze here. I think getting a 2-drop is fine. Hey Dev, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? Alright, 2 cards for my opponent. 3 cards now. They don't know about this path either, which is nice. Plague's pretty good. I guess we just give Pro Black and then let them name Human, which isn't the worst. It is 2 green sources that I actually... I guess it is a green source that I care about more than the actual creatures. But they do get to attack in here, and then just the one that we block with, they can just recast it anyway. I don't think I've ever seen Plague out of Hogak sideboard, which is interesting. It is a bit of a different deck though, so... Usually it's a mix of like Assassin's Trophy, Leyline, Force, and Thoughtseize. If I don't... Okay. we haven't seen Delver yet, unless it's like a Delverless kind of like blue-black zombies deck. This is just going to get a Bayou. I could get a Scrubland if I wanted access to double white, but I don't think I need it. And Gakka's Regent, nice. I like it. The question is, do I actually want to eat anything here? Most likely just some of their board. For Hogak. There's a world where they're wanting to counter it on the way back. Two, 4, 6, 8. I am going to eat a Hierarch here. Just go up to 19. And I probably will just Swords the Plague here. Just in case I draw into like a Noble Hierarch. I think, yeah, just to save time. Okay. What could they have open? Do they have Force Blue card? Surely it's Force Blue card. Daze is fine. I like the Wastelands here because they give me extra mana for Green Suns. I think we're at a stage where it doesn't really matter if we wasteland our opponent, but maybe next turn, depending on what we draw. But a little bit punished there by not playing the Wasteland first for the Daze. Yeah, because now we can't like eat something, block with a 3/3, and then eat this before they can cast it again. I also want to eat before blocks in case they have like Surgical in response, and then the Scoots is only a 2/2. Hey Penguin, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. 3 cards in hand. Bloodghast, okay. And there's the Green Suns we talked about. I don't mind just getting a Knight, to be fair. Could go for Ramanap as well. Ramanap's actually quite nice in this board because it allows us to get back a land as well. The thing that I like about Knight is that it gives us access to Karakas in case they draw into Hogak. Because Hogak's the card we really don't have a great answer to. No fetch, which is nice, just a duel. And an Echoing Truth goes to the bin, which is pretty huge. Hmm. They've already played a land, so I like blocking the Bloodghast here. And then I'm going to stop in damage so I can eat the Bloodghast. Oh, the Gravecrawler, sorry, before they get priority in main phase. Yeah. Pretty tough spot for them. I think they just had to try to go wide, and luckily the Screws just bought us enough time to put them in an awkward spot. That was like a, bug Hogak. Nice. Up against a 2/2N. Just a Caracas hand. Rough. I'm gonna keep this and bottom the oof. Yeah, maybe it was just straight UB. That's actually a good point. We didn't see green. A/2/2EN on the draw? No, on the play, which is nice. We will keep this and bottom the oof. And probably just go for Savannah into Noble. It's actually quite a nice 6. The only thing it's really missing is removal, but pretty happy to have like turn 2 Thalia and Wasteland, or Endurance hold up, or play Knight. For Island Pass, I'm pretty happy to play Thalia around Days here, and then most likely get in with Noble. But not too sure what my opponent is on. Could be a combo deck. Pitching Snapcaster. Interesting. It's more like a mid-range deck. Which is going to be tough. These style of decks are usually pretty good against Maverick. Wasteland here, we can Wasteland ourselves to get around a Lightning Bolt, which is kind of nice. Something that even Stifle doesn't fix. Okay. Yeah, it looks like a slow version of Jeskai, I assume. Yeah, there's Prismatic Ending. Sure. Happy to untap first. Library's a really nice pickup. I am going to play around Days. Wasteland the Volk. And then just get in for 4. I could also hold up, trade the Savannah for a Dried Arbor if I expect Teferi. Which means that I can untap and attack the Teferi. But I think getting in here is fine. I could also play the Mum, that's true. I don't mind playing the Mum, trading the Savannah for just another Savannah with a Wasteland, or with a Fetch Land. Nice. Thanks, chat. Thanks, Andre. Too kind. I didn't even see that line, and I should have. There's Plateau. Yeah, snap into Prismatic Ending. At least that's another land we can wasteland, which is nice. Alright. I'm pretty happy just to pay for all of these, to be fair. I could have also played the Hierarch, but I believe that it's going to block with the Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, so I don't think the Exalted would have mattered, but probably worth considering. I think they just tried to cast Prismatic Ending, but don't have a third color for the Knight. Yeah, which is pretty funny. So they obviously have a Prismatic Ending in hand. And thankfully we do have a Wasteland here for the Tundra. Which I am most likely just going to take out now in their attack phase. Yeah. Okay. I could pay here, but I'm happy just to hold up Endurance. Pretty tough for them. Thankfully, Jeskai is obviously more open to Wasteland, and being able to Wasteland our opponent nearly every turn. We wastelanded our opponent 3 times, which is pretty much 50% of the turns we had, which is huge, and I think is a great way to beat control, but you usually don't get that lucky. Usually opponents can go for basics early on and keep the Tundras and the Plateaus in the deck for the late game. Alright, based on what we saw, I think I'm pretty happy to drop out Oof. I do want the Chokes, I do want the Kaya, I probably want the Endurance. I think it's probably these. I don't think I worry about Murktide because the Knight would be a 9/9 attacking next turn for lethal, so they would have to block it, which is quite nice. I think Ramanap can most likely come out here. I'm going to assume they have some number of basics. I don't mind going down on a Manadork. I also don't mind going down on a Knight, even though it was great there. I rather the Endurances, especially because they have interaction straight away. But I might just keep the 1. I think a 3/3 split is fine, and then having the Chokes and the Kaya. It's tough though. I could see myself keeping the Acceleration, especially on the draw, and then dropping something like a Thalia, because we are bringing in some number of non-creature spells, and Thalia's in multiples isn't the greatest. Yeah, if they have Mentor, then Plague can be a nice way to dilute its effectiveness. But I kind of hope by keeping in the 4 swords, that we have enough ways to deal with it in these. But yeah, if we see Mentor, there's definitely a thought of bringing in the Plagues. The only reason that I don't like, this is a nice hand, Run Afoul, is that it gives my opponent the choice if they have something like DRC, Delver, and Murktide. Path's just really nice because it's nice and clean. And Path against Elves is pretty nice. I'm a big fan of giving my opponent a Forest over an Elf because I think an Elf is a bigger asset. They chose to not shuffle, okay. If they shuffled, I probably would have like top-decked Wasteland and just Wastelanded them, but... here we get to Accelerate, which is nice. Yeah, usually you're trading a creature that can tap for mana for a forest, which doesn't seem great, but just because elves themselves are such great assets in that deck that keeping them off creatures, especially for natural order, is just what I want to be doing games 2 and 3, because usually the plan for them is natural order Progenitus. Preordain. I think if I had more control over other cards, I'd be happy to play Run Afoul. We didn't draw a land there. If we drew a land, I would probably play Thalia this turn. But I'm thinking about Teferi most likely. I actually like Thalia here. It does tax our library, but like Teferi bounce library is just a pretty big feel bad. And Thalia eating another removal spell from them isn't the worst. We do have Green Suns for Dryad Arbor next turn as well if we miss on a land. Also, Pathing Shepherd is a big game, yeah. Shepherd can just win games out of nowhere. 2 mana Ponder's more than fine. Now they chose to shuffle. Did they miss a land drop? No. Okay. Choke. Ah, I did. Yeah, Dryad did get hit. Screw's a little bit late here because it turns off Snapcaster into swords. But we do have endurance if we really want to stop that line. Here's Teferi. Not too bad. They get to bounce one, but we get to attack with the other. So they might actually tick up Teferi here. They don't. Interesting. Well, now we get to kill Teferi and potentially draw a land to play Choke. No. I think here I just like Library. But Green Suns for another Mana Dork is pretty nice as well. I don't think I want to replay the Thalia just because I'm missing land drops and I want to find them either through Library or Green Suns 4 Mana Dorks. I think the big payoff is Library here. It's less likely to be hit by removal. Especially because Swords in the Bin also turns on Snapcaster if they're going to pressure our mana. Dork does seem better if Teferi, but if it's a Teferi again, I don't really mind because we have the Scavenging Ooze, unless they have Sword as well. But I feel like if they had Sword, that played a little bit slower, remove a creature that I have, and then just bounce the other one to make sure that I can't kill the Teferi in the same turn. I'm going to go with Library. Library also makes me a little bit happier to Endurance if I really have to, if they try to Snapcaster here, because then I can gain back that card disadvantage. Iteration. But then again, the more lands they tap here, the better, because if we can try to find that third land for Choke, I'd be pretty happy to slam it. Okay, they're going to start digging. All right. Keep looking. Prismatic Ending? Okay. Come on, land. Huh. Well, now I'm pretty happy to Green Suns for... I guess if I was going for Noble Hierarch, I should have just gone for like this before to get the extra damage in. Hey Sake, thanks for the follow. And Duck Duck Mongoose, love the name. Yikes. They're playing Wasteland as well, interesting. Okay. Find a brainstorm. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. We get to go Mum, Cradle, 2 mana, Green Suns for Noble Hierarch, attack Narset for 3 and kill it. That's pretty sick. Nice. Just in case there are days Undoing deck, I really like getting Narset off the field there. And now we're in like a pretty good shape. If they try to Snapcaster here, I'm pretty happy to trade the Endurance and Questing Beast for that. Because then we can try to... We can play Thalia and then slam Choke. Because we'd have 4 mana off the Cradle, which is pretty nice. It's a lot of cards. Sanctuary. I think Sanctuary puts me in the same position where I'm happy to... Oh, they're going to get an iteration. Well, that's interesting as well. Because I kind of want them to tap off blue here. And the iteration is definitely 1 blue. And then drawing into it is definitely the second. So I kind of don't mind if they iteration here. Especially because if they iteration plus brainstorm or ponder, that is 3 mana, and they have played a land for turn, I believe. So they only have 2 mana left over, so they can't really wipe the board with 2 mana. So I think I'm actually going to let this resolve. Which is tough. I mean, I'm giving my opponent a expressive iteration, but I think that's okay. Mentor. That's okay. Alpine Moon. Rough. What if they name Wasteland? Cradle. And a removal spell? Rough. Really going off my mana, which is smart. Pretty happy just to try and land a choke here. Nice. Which means that I only have Plateau and Plains, which doesn't cast the expressive iteration off the top. Nice. That's pretty huge for us. Wasteland's good as well. We can just play this Questing Beast and go to town. Which really starts pressuring our opponent. Especially with Mother of Runes already in play, like Swords to Plowshares here isn't that great. They find an island, so they can cast Expressive Iteration here. Yeah, I'm definitely very incentivized next turn to play Thalia and Wasteland. They find another Mentor. Okay. I think just because there's a world where they can go wide with a Mentor if they have like a Force and Blue card, that I'm happy to hopefully put them in a situation where they can just not get out from under this. I should have also used this because this is a green source for the ooze. But yeah, I think the Beast just closes out the game a little bit faster than the Thalia last turn. Yeah, QB is really nice against Mentor because they really need to have the spells to also get under it. And like there, you can just see how good Questing Beast is because it, especially with Choke as well, like it's so hard for them with the Mum in play to play a spell like a Sword Plowshares, a Prismatic Ending that's actually going to be meaningful on the board. Just really tough for them. Yeah, Alpine Moon's definitely interesting. I assume it's for Wasteland just because of their mana base, and then they saw the Cradle and just named it, but I mean, Cradle still tapping for a mana there is really nice and kept us in the game. So that was like Jeskai Mentor. Win. Nice. Yeah, Moon was interesting. But hey, a huge thank you to you guys for coming and watching, especially those from Mengu's stream who sticked around. Obviously, Andrea Mengucci is a very good streamer and very good player. I am an average streamer and an average player. So for you guys to stick around means the world. I usually stream fairly regularly these days, just because I'm in between jobs, but usually twice a week. Thursday mornings at 7:30, sorry, Thursday evenings at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and Sunday mornings around 10:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you want to find me on YouTube, you can find me here. You can find me on Twitter here. You can also find me on the Green Sun Zenith, which is a website that I founded for Legacy Maverick, and Green White Depths, which is sweet. Too kind, Council. If you're also looking for a blue mage and an all-around great guy, definitely check out Legacy Council as well. A very, very good player who also streams and has a very nice following behind him. Someone with Jedi mind tricks, I will say. Champion of the Fair? I like that. Champion of the Fair, very nice. Yeah, win record not too bad so far, especially with this version of Maverick. I have been tracking it, which is nice. It's this same one. So we were 21-9. With this one, we are 9-1. So we're now 9-2, 10-2, 11-2, 12-2. So if we can finish this as a 4-1, I'd be pretty happy. Hey, thanks, Pendulum. All the best. Enjoy work. And hopefully see you soon. Ah, Yago V1, nice. I like that. I'll take that. But yeah, always nice to be Jeskai. Jeskai can be pretty tough. Early removal in Prismatic Ending and Swords of Plowshares into a Mentor can be, yeah, pretty brutal. And like Snapcaster Mage to make use of the graveyard as well is really good. Teferi can be just annoying. Not like backbreaking, but you know, bouncing threats and kind of time walking us can be really good. And there with Wasteland as well. Wasteland in that deck was energy, I'll say. That was pretty cool to see. All right, here we go. Here we go on the play as well, which is nice. Chat, what do you think about this opening hand? I'll let you I'll let you have a think, but I think I already know what I expect. For me, this is a mulligan. No green source. The Cradle is dead here. Double Thalia is also a little bit rough, so pretty happy to mulligan to this hand. It was actually pretty good. It's interesting what I bottom though. I think it's the Knight, because I want to go turn 1 Bird and then turn 2 either Thalia or Library with Swords. And at least Knight, we have essentially 8 copies in the deck. We have another 3 copies, plus Green Sun Zenith, so I think we keep this in bottom of the Knight. The Library and Swords are still really good against some of the fair decks. I'm also going to lead on Savannah. I always like playing these games out as if we're just a green-white deck and kind of hide this for as long as possible. So we'll see if we're allowed to do that over the next coming turns. Okay. 60 cards, so it could be 60 card D&T. Either way, I'm pretty happy to play Library out here before like a Skyclave Apparition. But it is tough if it gets hit by Prismatic Ending, which I'd much rather get hit by the Thalia. Okay. It's going to be a Days Undoing deck. Interesting. I'm not going to show the Wasteland just yet. Having swords for Hull Breacher is quite nice. I don't mind fetching Dried Arbor here. Just to really apply like a little bit of extra pressure. That's pretty nice. Now we can protect the Thalia as well. And if they try to put in like a Hull Breacher here, we have the Swords to Plowshares for it. Happy just to save the Thalia here. Oh, hey, Knight Rider. Yeah, I mean, for a while in paper, I just played one of each duel. So you can definitely get away with it. I then moved up to 2 Savannas. And then I think in paper, I've moved up to just 2 Savannah, 2 Bayou, 1 Scrubland. But you can definitely get away with the one. Just be wary of matches like Death and Taxes where you might be incentivized to go for black early on. Snap swords? Sure. Do they miss a land here? If they miss a land, that's pretty huge. And thankfully, I'm already at 4 mana, so I don't really care about that Dried Arbor. Five Jills, maybe I should rebuild. Yeah, I mean, even, I think this version plays 5, but you don't need it. I just like it against the Wasteland decks. Hey, Bildor, welcome. I hope you're doing well. If this is a Prismatic Ending, this Thalia's already dodged 2 removal spells, which is pretty huge. And that's exactly where I want to be against this deck. Especially when it looks like they don't also have open like mana for a... I still think Thalia here is best, especially when they're low on lands. If they're spending 2 mana on a cantrip, I'm more than happy for that. There is a world, however, where I hold up Bayou in case of back to basics. Force. So that Thalia was huge because it took a Swords to Plowshares, a Prismatic Ending, a Force, and a Narset, which is pretty sweet. I'm just going to pass here. There's a world where they play Teferi and bounce their own Snapcaster, so I want to be wary of that. Hey, the Wit MTG, thanks for the follow. Hope you're doing well. Ooh. I guess it's free to use the swords here, right? Yeah. Because it goes into my graveyard and then gets shuffled in. At least their Snapcaster Mage gets exiled. Oof. Nice. Okay. They have 7 cards. I don't mind Grist, Mum, and Green Suns. That's pretty good. I could also play Questing Beast and attack with Caracas up. Luckily, with only 3 mana, they can't do too much. So let's start with start with Grist. I could try Mum first. I think Grist gets countered no matter what. It doesn't really matter. I don't think this is like force bait, because I don't think they would force that. But we can always try. Yeah, Grist is really nice. And at least if they force it, then they lose extra cards, which is kind of nice. I'm happy just to go for a basic in case of main deck back to basics. And then just play Green Suns for Dried Arbor. Which gives us 2 for 6 mana next turn, which means we can double. No! Of course, it's been exiled! You idiot! You idiot! Ah! Ah! Okay. At least we have Questing Beast down next turn, which is pretty sweet. Questing Beast taking out the Teferi. Sorry, team. That was just a bad play. Oh, we're going to see a Ponder? I would love to see a Ponder. Ooh, okay. No Swords to Plowshares for the Questing Beast. Even get to hold up Caracas. So I think best case is just a land off the top so we can cast Mum as well as the Questing Beast. No. Nice. I think holding up Caracas here is better than playing Mum. I think. But I will definitely have a think about it. I just think that the Questing Beast is such a good threat here that I'm happy to not play the Mum. Thanks, Nick. Too kind. Yeah, I think I'm actually happy just to stay back a little bit here. Especially if they run something like a main deck Supreme Verdict. I would hate to run into that. And I think that like this is still a fine play. Even if they try to like bounce this with Teferi again, we can like Caracas it so they don't draw and then recast. Getting the Mum online though is quite nice, but I think getting the Mum online and not having the Questing Beast around is a pretty big feel bad. Yeah, I think one area of streaming I can definitely work on, and I definitely try to work on, is just talking through all my lines before making a game action, instead of making a game action, then talking through my lines, and then realizing, wait, this one was actually better. Opponent really digging here for removal. Yeah, I get really bad tunnel vision, especially around sort of novelty cards like Questing Beast or being worried about a specific card that it definitely dilutes the power of the turn that I can have. No shuffle with the last Ponder. I don't mind just Thalia here. A little bit more of a taxing effect. Another creature I can save by Caracas. No plays. Huh. Okay. So they have their own Caracas. Which is fine. We do have Wasteland here. So pretty happy to Wasteland this now. They return, that's fine. We untap and draw a land. Oof. Oof. Play the beast. They can't hardcast Force, thankfully, because of the Thalia in play. Dress down is pretty good. Dress down's really annoying, because now I can't... Is it still legendary? I think it is. Okay. Get in for 2. Hey, Dark Poet Bill, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I think the nice thing about punts as well, especially on stream, is that you're never going to do them twice. Or usually not going to do them twice, which is nice. Blanking the haste, yeah. Dress down, a really good card. Dress down, a really annoying card to play against, especially as a creature deck. Especially as a creature deck with a lot of things. And that was nice. I mean, that kind of shows that you don't need to go all out with creatures against blue-white. You can just stick a threat and protect it in a way, so... That's pretty sweet. I'm going to say this is just blue-white. So I like the chokes. I definitely want the Kaya. I think we'll be sideboarding pretty similar to the last version. There is a world where I want Force of Vigor for Back to Basics, but we do have endings and a few other ways to deal with it, like Night of Autumn. You think it's blue-white red? Yeah. I wonder if the red matters. They could be playing like Engineered Explosives. I don't think they'll be running a red sweeper. Hey, Tazo. Yeah, Kaya Ghost Assassin is quite nice. I like that she replaces herself straight away with the discard and card advantage. And just being like a 4-mana threat as well is quite nice. We did see Caracas, which makes me want to go down on Thalia as well, especially on the draw. Yeah, I think I will just bring in a Force to be a little bit more cautious. I'm going to take out a Swords and just run the 3-3 split of Prismatics and Swords here. Yeah. I think that's okay. Pyroclasm is pretty good, especially against our Mana Dork starts. Yeah, her reach is really nice as well. The drain is something that opponents might just not see. And, you know, once might not be that great, but over a few turns, that 2 damage can really add up. It's like a slow tendrils. We're also up on clock, which is huge, especially if there is a game 3. These games can go long. I don't mind this hand. Has basics early on, has mana acceleration, a pretty good threat. Graph Cage, okay. Well, there's a Wasteland target, which is pretty nice. That doesn't usually happen. Oh, that's actually a nice draw. I like building up my mana here as well. Containment Priest? No. Actual counterspell? No. Dress Down? No. Interesting. Oh, are we gonna... they're gonna get bounce it? That's fair. Okay. Okay. We do get to play Mum this turn, and then probably just hold up Scrib Ranger. I think that's better than Dried Arbor. We still get access to double green next turn, or 4 mana next turn thanks to Scrib. Can't flash it? That's very true, yeah. I think in that case I'm happy just to play the Dried Arbor. Yeah, it does open itself up into like Supreme Verdict here, but I think that's okay. We have 3 mana, so it'll be okay. Hey Mike, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. Yeah. Even little things like that, like I know that Teferi's in play. I know that I can't play instant speed, but I'm like, we'll just hold up Script Ranger. This will be sweet. Just little things like that. Or like my opponent plays a turn 1 Chalice, and we play around it the whole game, and then turn 7 we play a 1-drop, and it's like, oh, the Chalice. Just, I feel in paper when it's a tangible card and it's there, it's a little bit easier to hit. There's Pyro, so whoever said Pyro, nice. Knight is pretty fantastic here. Yeah, Verdict at instant speed would be pretty rough. It's just, these games have been interesting because usually their mana isn't so open to removal. Come on, land. Oh, so good. So good. The Beast is here. I guess they could have Dress Down. They don't have Dress Down. Maybe they do. They do have Dress Down. Rough. Taxes and Delver, nice. Oh, they're gonna... Interesting. Bounce the Beast. I definitely want to go after their white source here. That's a goer. They're gonna float white. That's fine. We'll pass. Nothing. Okay. I feel like it's just going to be Cradle Pass. I kind of want a Green Suns for like Endurance down the line. Yeah. I don't mind holding up the Scrib here. I guess if they have like... this was this the deck playing Hull Breacher? Don't say it. Ooh. This is a blue creature. This does have pro blue, so kind of a free hit here, which is nice. Or a free block. I think Green Suns for Grist is going to be the play. Oh, they have Days Undoing? Yikes. It's probably the worst draw I could have. Rough. Tough. Maybe that's a reason to keep in the extra swords. Yeah, tough. Bring in the swords. I could see Library coming out just because of Narset and Hull Breacher. I could also see Cradle coming out. Usually these Jeskai decks can keep us off creatures where Cradle isn't really tapping for a whole lot. So I don't actually mind keeping in the second library in the play. I think we have enough ways to deal with the other cards that it's going to be fine. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, the Days Undoing decks are very hard for fair decks to keep up with. Especially because usually you might have like one swords in hand, so if they have a counterspell, then they have a counterspell. Yeah, Shaven Knight and bring back the Thalia. I actually like that, especially on the play. I think having the Thalias are pretty key. Especially because they usually get targeted pretty quickly, so having them in multiples isn't too bad. I also don't mind the Noble as well, just to have more acceleration on the draw. That's my TED Talk. You think you might have a chance, but yeah, it's a big yikes. Dress Down really good there. Dress Down's just like a big beating. Yes. Basics, swords, choke, you're laughing. You are laughing. The one thing I will critique about this list is that I do miss having some sort of 2-drop beater. And I wouldn't mind a Tarmogoyf. I would love to have a Tarmogoyf. But I'm not sure where I would fit it. I mean, the old version of the deck with, I think is it John Stern? Who's the Canadian pro? Yeah, Decay would be quite nice. Oh, opponent's gone down to 5, which is quite nice for us. Yeah, Elo, that's a great point. If you do think your meta has something like this deck and you want to have access to instant speed, uncounterable removal, then that's a great point. I guess I kind of care about Pyroclasm. That I'm kind of happy just to drop the choke now. Which does allow them to go like land, prismatic ending, but if they don't find force here, then the choke just like does a whole lot of good for us. And they've already gone down to 5, so if they force themselves, then it's not the worst. Oof. Well, that's a bit of a win. Script. Script's pretty sweet because we get to go... Script's really cool because we can go 1-2, play Script, untap this, return this. And then I'd rather just get the Noble Hierarch into play and attack for 2 than also get the Bird into play. Oh, they're going to fetch for maybe a basic here? If they want to sword something, that's more than fine. None of these cards I really care about. One, 2, 3, 4. Untap this, return this. 5. Play Savannah so I can hold up swords if needed. Go and get Questing Beast, attack for 6. This is in case they have Containment Priest. I think Beast is better than Grist, but it's close. This is actually pretty interesting. Because if they have Swords to Plowshares, then the Questing Beast is pretty rough. But if they have something like a Pyroclasm, then the Grist isn't that great either. Huh. Interesting spot. I don't mind Grist either. I kind of like waiting for like a Caracas or maybe at least one sword's used. Yeah, okay, chat. We'll go with Grist. Yeah, a little bit more conservative, which is nice. And I think that they have more answers to Questing Beast than they do in Sweepers and answers to like Grist, which is kind of cool. Interesting. Nothing. Canopy. Happy to play this. And then attack for 3 with Scrib Ranger. And then tick up the Grist. I could have played the Bird as well. I just don't want to overcommit too much to like a board wipe. At least the board wipe, in a sense, also nearly gets there. Nice. Alright, well... we get another 4-1, which is nice. So that was win, loss, win. Against... I'm just going to call it Jeskai Halday, I believe we've been calling it. Nice. Well, that is pretty cool. Definitely nice to be consistent. But I think that league kind of shows us that maybe there's a world where I like Thoughtseize over Deafening Silence as a more proactive card, especially against Control and these Stoneblade decks. But definitely a tough one. I feel like when I take out the Deafening Silences, I come up against the decks where I really want Deafening Silence. So, yeah, really happy with the list. The 2 big cards that you don't see here is Gaddock Teeg and Outland Liberator. The only reason I'm not playing Outland Liberator is that I feel like this version of Maverick already has enough ways to deal with those sort of threats in Prismatic Ending, Collector Oof, and Night of Autumn. And then in the sideboard, I think Force of Vigor is just probably the best answer for artifacts and enchantments. But as I said there before, like it is nice to have another 2-drop in the deck. I think if I did add in the Outland Liberator or another 2-drop, it's probably the second Endurance that goes to the board to have 3 in the side. Endurance just really strong against the Delver decks that I like having 2 copies. And an all-round great threat against combo that uses the graveyard. And also just Control as a 3/4 flash can be quite nice. Grist has been performing really well. The 3/2 split on Birds and Nobles is great. Double Bird is quite nice against Delver as well, just to buy some time if you really need it against like a big Murktide. And tapping for black is obviously quite nice as well. And that's the reason why I like 2 birds over a card like Ignobled Hierarch. I also like these mana dorks because I can go basic forest into white source. That's pretty important as well. Which allows us to go like Forest, Noble Hierarch, untap Wasteland, and then also play Thalia. Ignoble Hierarch doesn't allow that, which is, I think, a pretty big sort of down part of Ignobled Hierarch. What else? Skoos is definitely interesting. I think there's a world where Endurance just takes the role of Skoos. But they do have different advantages. I think Skoos is better against a deck like Lands, where over time they gain advantage from the graveyard, whereas Endurance just hits it once. So Skoos being relative there is pretty nice. Also against a deck like Hogak, they can kind of rebuild via the graveyard pretty quickly, so you do want that scavenging usability. Yeah, I can't imagine playing Outland Liberator in paper because of the whole Day-Night thing. Because of course, after the Outland Liberator goes to the bin, you still have to keep up with the board state and keep it going. So, yeah, I think the 4-1 was pretty nice. The game against Jund was pretty tough. They had a really good start, but you know, you got to play with the cards you're dealt sometimes. So that's pretty good. But March is interesting because it does hit Urza's Saga. And this deck can put a lot of mana into it, which is pretty nice. But I think the flexibility of ending also hitting Planeswalkers, I believe, is the big one, is pretty nice. Yeah, Angel, that's a good one. That's a good point as well. So with Kaya, you do get to exile up to one other target creature, or one other creature, or one creature. So you can reset ETB triggers like Knight and Plague Engineer, which is cool, or even Endurance if you really need to. I didn't even think of Endurance until now. And then, of course, herself. You can also get rid of tokens, so you can get rid of constructs, which is pretty sweet. Usually Marit Lage is played at instant speed, but there might be a world where you can just get it if you have like a... maybe your opponent's playing around Wasteland, you get to play Kaya. But yeah, the deck was pretty sweet. So we're currently 4-1-4-1-5-0, which is, yeah, really nice. And I think a lot of it has just been taking our time as well with turns. Instead of trying to race anything, just yeah, thinking about what the most optimal play is and going with it. And Boseiju is definitely interesting. Boseiju, I don't think in this deck is as good as decks with like Loam or ways to recoup it. You could play a card like Witherbloom Command, but if you're only playing the one Boseiju, it's quite hard for those to kind of line up in a way that you can return it, because you're probably not going to see them both too often. But I do think it'll be cool as like a one-of in the deck somewhere. And then like maybe there's a world where like Eternal Witness is a decent Green Sun's target because you can get it back, but I guess we'll see. I haven't made time to get pod working in Legacy. There's probably a world where it could be there, but it's a tough one. I think it's probably best in like a Nick Fit deck with cards like Voice Resurgence or Plague or Veteran Explorer. Or things like that. But I think in Mav it's a little bit tough. It does allow us to play around like Blood Moon, which is kind of cool, and then search for things, but yeah, just a bit of a tough one. All right, it is nearly midnight, so I'm gonna go to bed. But a huge thank you to you guys for coming and watching. I believe Sylvia is playing some Legacy Doomsday, so I hope you guys enjoy that. A huge thank you to everyone, and especially Mengu for raiding. This is really cool. Really nice to, yeah, get some more grind in with the deck and see it perform against some different decks we haven't played against. So that's pretty cool. But to you guys, enjoy your day ahead, enjoy your night ahead, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Cheers.